The main governing body after the coup was the People's Redemption Council. These were the men that staged the coup.
And how many members did that council have?
The council had 20 full members. It increased after certain progressives were permitted to attend the meetings, but the council remained steady. About 20 members. There were full-fledged members of the council.
And who was the chairman of the council?
The chairman of the council was the most senior non-commissioned officer, Master Sergeant Samuel Kanyon Doe.
And so far as the cabinet was concerned, of which you became a member, how many cabinet ministers were there?
I'm going to have to do a little bit of calculation there. It was not a very large cabinet. I would say a little under 20. I could name them, but I'll have to calculate them. I can name them. I just don't remember the number. But
very well. Now, from which parts of the political spectrum in Liberia were they drawn?
As I look at the framework right now, it was not from a very wide spectrum, because when you look at the cabinet, there may have been about, I would say, one person that I can almost say was from the Americo-Liberian, another half of a person, and what I mean by half of a person, because I was on the cabinet, but I was not a fully Americo-Liberian, because I'm half and half. But the rest of them were from the Aborigine population.
And in terms of political complexion, was there any kind of split or divide within the cabinet?
Oh, definitely. This may be one of the situations that you call what, strange bedfellows. If you remember, I talked on yesterday about the progressives, and I'm talking about the Union of Liberian Association in the Americas. Then we have the Progressive Alliance of Liberia under the leadership of Barkus Matthews, who comes to Liberia and forms a political party. Then you have MOJA, the Movement of Justice in Africa. These are all different individuals that have now come into the cabinet. And we are in there trying to work, but I did mention very carefully that we all were trying to help these men and then move them toward the democratic process. So yes, there were these different little hitches, but we got along because while we were there, and I admit juggling for positions in the future, we did not have any internal conflicts, at least not open.
Now, within that cabinet, you've already mentioned there was a Dr. Amos Sawyer, wasn't there?
Amos Sawyer was not a member of the cabinet, but he was sent as president of the University of Liberia.
What about Dr. Henry Fanbula?
My good friend Dr. Famler became the Minister of Education.
And who was the Minister of Planning?
The Minister of Planning was another Moja individual, Dr. Tokba Nantipote.
And in terms of political complexion, those three men, what part of the political spectrum did they adhere to?
They, to a great extent, I can say, were Marxist, Leninist oriented.
But nonetheless, they were within the Doe government.
That is correct.
So within Liberia then, what was the supreme decision-making body?
The People's Redemption Council itself.
And by what method did they rule?
They ruled by decree, but don't let us forget that we're talking about military people. And while there were discussions, the most senior officer, there are times that you just do not challenge your superior. And so the top echelon of the council, that is the chairman, Samuel Doe, the vice chairman, the speaker, the secretary general, and the commanding general, at that tier, by tier I mean at that level, would probably make certain decisions and virtually pass it down to the rest of the council, because it was a strict military channel and chain of command.
Speaking of which, did that fact that this was a military administration have any personal consequences for you in terms of your own status?
Oh, yes. It did have consequences. And in fact, I mentioned that these were young men, but they were smart men. What they ended up doing to all of us, they said, great, now that you are a part of a military government, we will induct all of you in the armed forces, give you military ranks, and subject you to military orders. Now, all members of the council took the rank of lieutenant colonel upward. Members of the cabinet were all, and I use the word inducted. I had never at that particular time had any military training. We did not do any military training to get the rank. Up till now, I have never had any military training whatsoever. So we were made majors, deputy ministers for administration, were all made captains, and assistant ministers were made lieutenants. Now, the intent, what they said was that we will be subjected to orders. So when you receive an order, you had to follow it. And so members of the council were then divided up, where each council member, or maybe a group of 2 or 3, were placed in charge of ministries and agencies of government. So they became what they call chairpersons of certain committees that headed certain agencies. So, for example, if you were chairman of the People's Redemption Council Committee for Finance, so the finance minister reported to you. Now, I was at the General Service Administration, so I had a chairperson that I reported to.
Who was that?
His name was Robert Noukou. That's Nouwuku, Noukou.